My name's Gareth Place. I'm a DOP based in Cape Town, and I wrapped up Fried Barry, which is my first feature film recently. Crazy journey, like definitely wasn't what I anticipated in life. I can sort of remember back in school putting my Walkman earphones in and cruising around school, and it was quite crazy that I'd be having quite a dismal day or maybe like, not feeling 100%, and then you could put in your beats and suddenly you felt like you were in a movie. And I never really knew at that point what that was going to represent in my life or being a career choice. But after working in the hospitality industry for like 10 years, which was cool because it was quite industrious working in the cocktail sectors. It was really rad running teams, managing stock, and it came quite naturally for me to see that, I was the first person rocking up, last person to leave. And then, after I started exploring the film world, I started to see that there were a lot of similarities, less the booze and all of the distractions. So it was quite a natural progression for me to, well, I first wanted to do photography, did a lot of like photographic assisting and all that kind of stuff, and felt like it was just a little bit empty for some reason. So after discovering cinematography, I saw that, photography was just almost like, one facet of the whole craft. And once I jumped into the true cinematography, it was just amazing to see how expansive a craft could be. And it kind of excited me that you would never be bored, which are like kind of a blessing and a curse nowadays. But it's cool to find yourself in a mess. It's cool to find yourself in a bunch of flux. So yeah, very grateful that I found myself, sitting behind a camera all these years later and actually making a living from it. So I've always loved films, always loved the arts, loved music. I never thought that I was going to go and study film, not to knock it, but I kind of decided to go do that because I was already committed to the hospitality industry and I felt that I'd lost a couple of years. So I jumped into film school to almost catch up, not knowing that it's kind of a career path that's not about catching up. It's more about discovering yourself. So I'm glad I went to film school. That kind of helped me explore the craft from another perspective to others. I learned that everything on that screen has been considered. I think we all watch films and we have this general idea that, somebody's just there with a camera and people are just calling action. But it kind of taught me that everything has to be considered. And that's, quite a lot of responsibility. But it also kind of taught me that there's many ways to shoot a film, There's not only one way to do it. I think this is where a lot of people get left off. You go to film school, you put it all in, you think that you're making films, and then you walk out and you imagine that you're just going to continue doing that. I started to realize how many other facets to the film industry there were. Sure, there's making films, but there's documentary making, and there's ways to shoot documentaries, and you need to know how to shoot interviews to shoot documentaries, and you also need to be able to wrap that up in some cinematic B-roll. So leaving college was kind of daunting when you start turning around and, things aren't materializing the way that you think they should be. But at the same time, it's a great reward when you do snatch something small up and you turn it into something a lot bigger than you thought was possible. Cinematography is a lot deeper than I anticipated, and I keep reflecting on this just because my grandpa once said to me, you can do, 3 things poorly, 2 things okay, and you can do 1 thing perfectly. And I think, cinematography is kind of one of those. You've got to wear a lot of hats, and you have to figure out, what hat you're going to wear. Film school's a great place for you to find pieces of work that motivate you and potentially want to make you pursue, some sort of dream. But when you leave film school, there's generally quite an empty room, if you could say. The professional world and film school are 2 very different spaces. But that shouldn't deter you from picking up a camera and getting out there. Like, I think the only way you can really recognize how to shoot, the only way you're going to get that first job is if somebody gives you the opportunity. And normally that comes from your ability to show them that you've got what it takes. So, go and find art that motivates you. Go and find movies or parts of movies that move you, and try and like unpack the simplicity in those moments that could potentially drive you to go out today, pick up your camera, and go and film something that could not impress somebody else, but maybe move them, maybe like change their lives. Every project has a camera, and every project has the right person to shoot that project, which means that as much as it is a subjective ideal, I think what kind of needs to happen when you take on another project is you need to see the project for being the project, not like what you hope it to be. Everybody hopes that something can be amazing until you can have all the toys on set, you can have everything there, but if you don't have the right motivations, you're not gonna like make a piece of content that people are gonna connect with. So planning a project is super important. Like it's where you get to fess out all the little gremlins. It's where you get to express all of your concerns, because once you're there, you're kind of there, and you've got to deal with what you've sown. So hopefully you'll sow the right seeds that will grow a successful project. But generally, have a really, really tight bond with your director. Get to them as much, because in the pre-production, your director is going to be available, and as the production rolls on, he's just going to be being pulled all different ways to all the other different departments, and you're not going to have that time that you did right now. So get in front of your director, show him images that are moving you, that like whatever his script or whatever his concept's motivating, and you find references that support that, and explore his mind or her mind, and figure out if that's what they actually want. Because the worst thing that can happen to you is you prep all sorts of stuff, and then you get there on the day and they were like, well, this isn't exactly what we had in mind. Could you maybe do that? And that's part of the planning process, because on the day you're also going to need to have time, or you're going to find something else that you're going to want to give time to, and if you don't have the time for it, you're going to lose that too. So with a little bit more planning, you're going to be able to free up some more time on set that's going to give you the opportunity to kind of find those magic moments. But yeah, find out where the light is coming from. Is it going to be on? Is it going to be off? Like anything that can help you make your day run smoother, that's in your best interest to find out. So yeah, planning, very, very important. It's super crucial that you're able to get all the information into your own docket and packed into your bag, so that you can refer to everything and keep a hand of everything moving on set, because it does get crazy out there, and you don't want to be crazy on set. Everybody's looking at you to be lightheaded, but not only that, everybody's looking at you to turn the director's vision into what we watch, and you have to put it onto a two-dimensional screen. So you have to now entrap 3D spacing into a three-dimensional screen, and you've got to portray and connote emotion, and that's very important. So all the planning that you can get to lead you to that moment, like grasp it while you can. With regards to equipment, thorough equipment checks are a necessity, especially like in the indie world where you're not working with like a massive crew. You need to know that everybody knows their piece of equipment, knows what to do with that piece of equipment at the right time, and that will, what equipment you choose will dictate the look and the way that you tell the story. So yes, it's imperative. Some, the vintage lenses are really in at the moment. People are trying to scrub these clean senses. They're trying to bring a little bit more texture into the world, whether it's for dreamlike qualities, or maybe other DOPs really urging people to use cleaner lenses because they want the feeling of the piece to be more real. All of these decisions have great impact on the look, but they shouldn't hold you back. They should be something that you get excited about. Sometimes it'll be a balancing act. Sometimes you can have the lenses that you want, but you're not going to be able to shoot in the camera that you want. In the indie world, you're going to ask for everything and you're going to get something else. And it's up to you then to find the heart of the story and try and capture that instead of like getting down that you don't have something. It's kind of, you know, sometimes being held back is the best advice for finding your creative freedom, you know. Not getting what you always want is sometimes your right to discover yourself, if you allow it to be, you know. To be asked what my favorite aspect of cinematography is, whether, you know, I think that's impossible to answer. I think the coolest thing about the craft is when you finally get all of it to sit in front of you the way that you intended and the way that you intend other people to see it. So that moment when everything kind of is accented the way that you want, it's lit the way that you want, and you're connoting that emotion that you set out to achieve. Yeah, I love that. That's a magical moment. And yeah, like, I think everybody has those joys and triumphs in their careers. I chase after that moment. It's cool to see your director happy with you, but not only that, it's even better to sit in a cinema and to see your work and then to feel your work. Like, yeah, that's a special moment. And everybody should get that in life, you know.